Welcome to Winning Every Living Day. I'm Aurelie Cormier, and together with Dr. Pat, we will help you to envision the life of your dreams. This is the space where women like you are inspired to believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and your ability to create a life you truly love. Together, we'll explore health and wellness, relationships, careers, and the small but powerful baby steps that lead to lasting transformation. Because no matter where you start, life is meant for joy, happiness, and abundance, whether in vibrant health, loving connections, fulfilling work, or freedom of time and money. Here, you'll learn to reflect, visualize, feel, and take action so you can manifest the life you deserve. Let's step into your power and start winning every living day together.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Pat, and I take this journey. We're going to get right at it because this is a question that I watch every Thursday night when I do the show with Mark. And the question has to do with the loss of a child. So many people that call into that show have that story, that journey. And I'm always surprised at how they show up. Today's show, Aurelie is going to walk us through this question. Is it possible to recover after the loss of a child? Aurelie, I can't even imagine that.
No, I can't either. But I will say this week I was listening to the news, as many other people were listening to the news, and it was about the 1-year anniversary of the flood at Camp Mystic. And, of the 25 young girls that died, the 2 teenage camp counselors that also died, the director of the camp in Texas, who also died in the flood. And there is still one child that's missing that they haven't been able to find. And I can't imagine what it's like for those parents not to have closure. But one of the things that I found remarkable, because there was a fantastic article in the Washington Post that talked about one of the parents, Matthew Childress, and his daughter was Chloe Childress. She was one of the counselors, along with the other teenage camp counselor, Catherine Ferruzzo. And what Matthew did is he had overwhelming grief. And he even, talked about how when he went to his daughter's funeral, he was totally overwhelmed with emotion. And at the time, it was hard to even imagine he could go forward in his life. But he gave himself that space to go through his grief. And then he was ignited at one point and decided that he wanted to take action because he didn't want any other child to have to go through what his daughter went through and all those other young girls went through. So he got together with a few other parents that had children lost at the camp. And they decided they wanted to craft legislation and bring it to the Texas legislature. They met with the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. They met with the lieutenant governor in Texas, and they met with the Texas House Speaker. And this is remarkable, but within 1 year, they got legislation passed and they had policy changes in Texas so that in the future, if there was the National Weather Service was announcing that there was, torrential rains that were coming and there was a risk of flooding in low lying areas, that they would evacuate those areas for any people that were in them, children, campers, whatever. And for camps, that when the children came to camp, they all talked about how they would respond if there was an emergency, and they had ladders available to help in that emergency. And the reason that he did this, and I think it's a remarkable example of how to turn grief into something positive by making a difference in the world through legislative action. But what he did, which I think is so admirable, is he took his grief and decided he wanted to make a difference for his daughter's life, to give his daughter's life meaning and purpose, so that it wasn't a situation where she just died and then you try to go on with your life. No, he wanted to create something that was going to be helpful to other children in the future, so it wouldn't happen to them and other families wouldn't have to go through this. And what I will say is it is such a great example of turning a major life event, a tragedy, a traumatic event, into a significant purpose that can be helpful to others. And it helps, I think one of the things that it probably did, because it is, hard to get over the fact that a child has died, but it helped him to move forward in his life and to feel good about what he was doing, and that he was bringing this so that, again, his daughter's death had meaning and purpose, because it was going to be helpful that other children didn't have to go through this same thing.
Yeah.
And I would say in my 41-year career in oncology, I have witnessed incredible examples of role models of those who turned the most significant life health challenges into something positive, whether that was the family got together, they raised money to help fund the person who was then told they're going to have a stem cell transplant and they didn't have the insurance to cover it, or they decided that they wanted to raise money for research into a particular type of cancer so that we had a better understanding of it. And these researchers could also try to figure out, was there a better treatment for this particular type of cancer? But they tried to turn it into something positive. And I always admired those families that in the midst of everything else they were going through, and I can't imagine how overwhelming, every doctor's appointment and every, keeping the whole schedule together, that they had time to try to raise money or have these fundraisers or connect with people to start these different organizations so that they would increase funding for a particular type of cancer or fund research into a better treatment for a particular type of cancer. So it's something that I think is such a positive example of a healthier way to turn around that long-term grief. Because traditionally in our culture, you may have seen a different example, but the example that I saw oftentimes in our culture is that if a parent lost a child, their life not only would never be the same, but they would go into an eternal depression or despondency and never come out of it. And that is, it's certainly understandable. And I'm not here to say that if don't do things in a certain way to, change it around, or you don't raise money for a particular cause, there's anything wrong with that. Everybody's going to handle their situation the way that they want. What I'm just here to share is that there are other examples out there that we don't have to go through eternal grief, but we can turn that situation into something that can bring you to a place of joy, because you have created meaning and purpose for that child's life, and that you have taken the action steps maybe to change legislation so that no one else has to go through drowning in a camp flood because no one took action in time. So I think that, these are wonderful examples for all of us that there are communities of people out there who have found a way to overcome a lot of that grief and to move forward in one's life. And of course, that doesn't happen overnight. That takes time. And for many of the families that I've seen, it takes at least 1 to 3 years to actually feel more at peace with what has happened. Obviously, everyone goes through grief in a different way. Some people will get over it, like Matthew Childress. It seems like he got over it really quickly and then went right into action. But for most people, it's like 1 to 3 years to work through some of that. And there are other situations that I found where they are, examples of tragedies that have happened in our country, and families were able to respond in a different way to help work through some of that grief so they could move forward in their life. And one of them, many people probably remember the Sandy Hook Elementary School in 2012. I mean, that is burned into my memory of what happened there, because I was, at one point had been living near that school. But, I can't imagine what it was like for those parents to be at the bus stop and say goodbye to their kids as they loaded the bus. And then midday, they find out that their kindergartner or first grader or second grader is now dead because of a gunman that, got into the school and decided he was going to start shooting, the gun that he had at the little kids. Or for the high school students at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, who went to school one day, and one of the former students decided he was going to come to the school with a gun, and he was going to kill 17 teens at the school, and he was going to wound 17 others, and how their lives were radically changed. And yet, what was remarkable about these high schoolers is there was a group of them that banded together, and they decided that they were going to start a movement where they would go to the Florida legislature to help address the policies to reduce gun violence in the state of Florida. And these are high school students after they had just been through this tragedy. But good for them, and what remarkable role models they are for all of us, that we can move forward and we can do things to make a difference for others in the future. And they also had helped shape public policy around these issues in the state of Florida as well. And then I can remember later on seeing them speaking in Washington, D.C. to bring the issue on a nationwide level. But I think, for many of these issues, it's usually state by state to get things changed. But the main thing is that rather than staying in that state of trauma and grief ongoing, that yes, it takes time. You don't get over it overnight, but it can be done, that we can move forward in our life. And there's several things that I think can be helpful in that way. And for some of what I've seen in oncology, but also through these examples of the people that, were talked about in the news this weekend with the Camp Mystic flood and the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, high school event, and the Sandy Hook elementary event. What is important, I think, for us to keep in mind is when a tragedy or a traumatic event happens, you need to give yourself time to actually feel what you're feeling and to have a chance to be patient with yourself. Give yourself kindness and compassion and support, because, and you have to know yourself too, because some people will want to hibernate. They just need to be alone. They need to be by themselves to process the information. Other people need a lot of people around them for that added support. So knowing yourself well helps. What, what way are you going to heal and recover from these events? But in the midst of that is, once you've had that opportunity to be kind and compassionate to yourself, reaching out for support, because it's important to feel heard, to feel understood, so that you can recover over time. And for some of these situations, especially some of these, with the Camp Mystic floods, where it was so unexpected, or with the school shootings, it may be helpful to reach out to a professional like a counselor, a social worker, a psychologist. For some people, it may be a psychiatrist, to get professional help, because it is helpful for the person to feel heard and understood and listened to, but to do that day after day after day with your friends or your family members can be overwhelming for them too. So it oftentimes can be helpful to get professional help, as well as, the times when you need to talk to your family or your friends about it, but you don't want to take advantage of that too much. And then they are feeling overwhelmed by the things that you're sharing with them. It's also helpful, when you're ready, to find a community of people that have been through a similar situation and are further ahead than you are in recovering from that tragedy, and are responding in a more positive way, or dealing with it in a more positive way, because it is helpful to have role models for us to know what is possible for ourselves. So if you can find a community of people that have been through a similar situation and then learn from their example, that can be enormously helpful. And oftentimes in a way that not only helps you recover from the tragedy, but also gives your child's life meaning and purpose, like Matthew Childress did. And I just think he's a remarkable example of someone who handled this, extraordinarily well. And for anybody who has lost a child, he is a great example of and role model of how to get through it. So that's why I say it's helpful if you can find a community of people who have been through something similar but are further ahead than you. So you have that role model of where you're going and how you can work through to get to the other side. It's also helpful, I think, to develop a certain mindset, because it's easy when we're trying to work through some of this to default back into, oh my God, I'm never going to get better. This is too overwhelming. I can't imagine that I'm ever going to have another day where I can feel good again, knowing that my child is gone and will never come back. But so it is helpful to have a mindset that, yes, it is hard, but there will be a point in time. It is possible. I believe in myself. I've seen other people who have done it. I know I can do it too, and I can move forward. It's going to take time. I can be patient with myself. That's fine, but I will get to the other side. And then beyond that, I think it's helpful to find you know, a, a way to make this meaningful, to find a life purpose in it. What is it that you want your child's legacy to be? I know I have a friend who lost her son to leukemia, and she ended up starting the pediatric palliative care movement. So she turned, as difficult as it was to lose her son at 16 years old, she turned that into meaning and purpose by creating and bringing to the United States this whole idea of pediatric palliative care, which up until then, palliative care was used for adults, but not for children, because with children, it was like, you're going to keep going, you're going to keep going, you're always going to try to find the cure, because it was a child. But she found that that was not helpful, and had talked to people in England who were further ahead than we were in that area and brought it back to the United States. So finding a way in which you create meaning and purpose for your child that you've lost. And then lastly, realize that our greatest, most challenging moments in our life are our greatest teachers. We are still in that fire horse energy. This is a year where the world is on fire. There's a lot of challenges we've already been through. There's many more to come. We have no idea what the future holds, but every challenge in our life is a way for us to grow, and they become our teachers. And then we learn from them, and then we can go forth and help teach others. So, just keeping that in mind, that no matter what we go through in this life, that those difficulties, those health challenges, those tragedies become our greatest teachers. And then we are able to help teach others and make life better for them too, in the midst of what they have been through. So hopefully that helps you to think about, for your own life, what is it that you've been through already that maybe you've never, had a chance to overcome? And this might be a time when you might want to relook at that and say, what did that teach me? And how could I help others? How could I teach others? What did it, maybe, are there any other lessons in there for me to learn? And then, when we keep going forward in the future, that we, no matter what life challenge, comes our way, that we remain kind and compassionate and gentle with ourselves, because we are here to be the light of the world. And this is the best time to be the light of the world that needs it, So anyway, what I wanted to let you know is in that theme, I have a workshop coming up. I've done it several times this year. We always have fun when we get together and have this workshop, but it's called Envisioning the Life That You Would Love, where you get to dream if everything was possible for you, what would you love your life to look like? What is it that you would love your life to be? Because this podcast is about winning every living day, how women can step into their leadership role, can step into their best self, being their authentic self. And so thinking about what is it you would love your life to be like? And so I hope that you will take a look at it. It is a 2-evening free masterclass. It's July 14th and 15th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. which is 4 to 5:30 Pacific time. It's on Zoom. You can do it from the comfort of your own home. And the summer is always a good time to just step back and calm down your life so it's not so busy. Because once the fall comes, we know it's going to be busy again when the academic year starts. So planning, what is it you would like to accomplish over this next year? So I hope that you sign up for this. You go to my webpage, aureliecormier.com. And the other workshop that I have is creating optimal resilience in your family. Right now, we're in the middle of that 6-week workshop. It's once a week for 6 weeks. It finishes on July 30th. And then, and this segment is actually closed to new members for this coming, but then in September, I will have this workshop starting again, once a week for 6 weeks. And it's a great workshop for anybody that's had cancer and wants to keep themselves healthy, reduce their risk of reoccurrence, and have better survival, or for people that have a family history of cancer and want to prevent cancer in themselves, or maybe are planning on getting pregnant and want to give their baby a better chance of having good health for their life, starting before they even get pregnant, because those first 8 weeks, we know that, those organs are forming mid-trimester, the brain is forming. So we give our babies a better chance when we start these good health habits before pregnancy. So there's some things to think about. Thank you so much for joining us today on this topic, because I think it's a really important topic, and I hope you have a great month.
You've been listening to the Winning Every Living Day with me, Aurelie Cormier, with Dr. Pat. I'm so glad you joined us on this journey of believing in yourself and taking the steps toward a life you truly love. Be sure to tune in every first Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time on Transformation Talk Radio for more inspiration, tools, and strategies to support your health, your relationships, and your dreams. And if you're ready for deeper transformation, sign up for my master classes and workshops by visiting my website, aureliecormier.com. These powerful programs provide the extra support and guidance that can make an enormous impact in helping you achieve the life you've been dreaming of. Until next time, remember, you have what it takes to start winning every living day.